Hello, this is Beverly Roberts, and I'm coming to you from Houston, Texas. And today I'm going to try to speak as intelligently as I can from Dr. Melva Wilson Costin's African American Christian Worship book. And I'd like to talk about chapter 3 of her book, Worship in the Invisible Institution. And these are the things that attracted me and gleaned my attention as I read from this book. The long-held worship traditions of the African American church, adapted from its native African heritage, are deeply rooted in the souls of Black folk, as W.E.B. Du Bois writes. Melva Wilson Costin in African American Christian Worship describes 8 key characteristics on the unique institution which is called the Black church. 1, she says that the importance of private, divine space where freedom could be sought and experienced is one characteristic of the Black church. 2, that ownership of a Christian belief system and code of religion that they could call their own was what the Black church wanted. That the uncomplicated manner of worship was what Black folks sought after. That the divinely inspired, minimally educated, but biblically articulate preachers called from among the plantation folks with a sensitivity to the plight of the folks who lived on the plantation. That freedom of the spirit to enable the preaching, the singing, the praying, the shouting, and responsive listening of the spirit-filled congregations is what characterized that unique church. That freedom to worship at a time that slaves would determine for themselves is what they wanted. That mutual community affinity where everybody's heart was in tune, so when they called on God, they made heaven ring. And last, she says that with the support of the community, slaves could experience and be sustained with new life and move with hope into their future. This is how Melva Costin characterizes the Black church. And in my own personal lived experiences, I too have experienced and observed that throughout the centuries, how some things have truly remained the same, while other things have significantly changed due to the influence of Euro-American Christians. If you, like me, notice the Black church is not the same. We were not able to be educated in the church as Euro-Americans had been educated. But now that opportunity exists for all of us, and we are capable of being educated, both male and female, in seminaries and schools all over the world. So that opportunity has been made available to us. Still, we have those traditions of preaching and praying and singing and shouting in the African American church that is just rooted so deeply in our souls that when you see us, it's apparent that I am in the presence of an African American person, not only because of our skin color, but there's something that is just soulish and deeply rooted. I was thinking today about in our worship service, I heard this young lady singing, and she was singing a gospel song, a gospel worship song, and I thought about her voice and how her voice was so soulish. It was like a guttural, wrenching sound almost. It wasn't harsh on my ear. It was just something I was attracted to, and I said, wow, that voice can go anywhere. It can sing anything. But I was so proud that she was singing in the church, a young woman, and was singing the gospel song. So I knew I was, not just because of her singing voice, but that she was a part of the family of God and was using her gifts in the church. So I knew that I was, I'm in an African American church, but I knew there was a kindred sort of spirit there. And that's even when we come into the company of other Christians whose skin color isn't as dark as ours. There is a kindred spirit that exists between Christian folk. But in our Black African American experience, that's just that soulish part of us, and we experience it. We get that from our African roots, and it's that unique identity that we do have among ourselves. So worship in the invisible institution, it has been solidified and held together by these long-standing traditions, and it continues to be ingrained in the souls of African Americans all over the world. There is truly a rhythm that exists that is undeniable to the eye of most folk, that our African roots are apparent. Yet, our roots move us forward to continue the fight of freedom for the poor, for marginalized and oppressed peoples. Worship in the invisible institution of the past, it has not ceased. It has merely been adapted into a new form of the same in its own familiar context that honors its past, it lives in its present, and it brings hope to its future.